guys, we're back with another podcast of the Nerdy Hacks. Got Adrian Murphy here, the man of 120 nicknames.
What's going on, world?
And Ryan Haggerty, the owner of Ryan's Comics. You need to come check it out if you haven't been here, because you should be.
Hey, everybody.
And as we usually do, we're going to jump right back into the
good, bad, and ugly.
Which is when we all just say the good, the bad, and the ugly things that we've seen lately in nerd news. So, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Well, you know, the big thing for me is that there's classic characters. And those classic characters, when they're reintroduced, I get really excited. And they're reintroducing Daredevil and Moon Knight. There's two great teams. Mark Waid's working on Daredevil. And when it comes to Mark Waid, he's probably my favorite Daredevil writer. I know a lot of people are fans of the Frank Miller run, but with the new series and it winning all the awards and it just bringing a character back from the dead pretty much, you know, after Shadowland or before Shadowland, he didn't really have much, and that was a great story arc, and Mark Waid really brought that character back to its roots, and I'm really excited to see what he does with it. And you know, Warren Ellis working on Moon Knight is going to be amazing, because Moon Knight is, you know, the mental capacity of Batman for Marvel, and you know, he's a madman, and to see Moon Knight shine from a great writer is going to be something that I'm pretty excited about. So
he's a schizo.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
Hey world, this is Prophet Alpha. I know you guys make fun of that name, but my good this week is Sons of Anarchy. If you watch Sons of Anarchy, or if you're a fan, there was a significant event that happened in there, and it was the death of Clay Morrow. Clay Morrow was the president of the Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club, but through his maliciousness, he was killed off. It was a significant event that happened in the show, and the reason why he was killed off is because what he did to Jax Teller. Jax Teller is the prince of the Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club, and he is now the power. And the evolution of his character to how he got into power is just left me flabbergasted of where he started in the show to where he is now, to where I don't know if I trust, because you know how shows set you up to be either a hero or bad guy or whatever, but the development of Jax Teller is like, I don't know where he is right now. There's a lot of other supporting cast members in there. You got Gemma Teller. She's the mother of Jax, and she was married to Clay. So she kind of was always like the person pulling all the strings and keeping everybody together. So with Clay's death, she's left out there in the wind. Clay's death was a good, because it really made me pick up on the series again, because it's been on for a while and it had a lull, but his death kind of piqued my interest again, and that's my good.
So it's kind of like what Seth MacFarlane did with Brian. Kill the dog to bring him back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Or shake up things.
Well, Brian has been a part of, a lot of people are in uproar, because they said Brian was a moral compass of the show. So it's kind of like that, but it's about bikers.
The moral compass of Family Guy. Oh, man. Well, my good is actually about Days of Future Past. Not the movie, though. It's just viral marketing. If you guys have been paying attention at all to this stuff, they've released a couple of fake pages, which are just fantastic, talking about like the Sentinel program and stuff like that. I actually showed my boss the video that they made for the Sentinel program, and she swore it was like a real healthcare video until the very end, when you see like the Sentinel looming. That's just how good their viral marketing has been. And they recently released a new webpage called bentbullet.com. And what they do is they pretty much combine the Kennedy assassination conspiracy with the possibility that Magneto was the one who killed them. I mean, we're talking about complete with eye account witnesses and photos, vintage-looking photos, and so on and so forth. So, like, definitely check out bentbullet.com. Days of Future Past viral marketing is a definite good in my book, especially if they keep this up. I can't wait to see what's going on next. So right now we're going to start going to the bad. Let's see what Ryan has to say about that.
Well, I don't know if you guys know, but I know that I'm a Whovian, and I've watched all 26 seasons. I'm really excited about the show. Every
many
season,
seasons.
I know. I'm a little hard with the Netflix. But they just came out with some news that, for me, I know Eccleston, Tennant, and Smith as the 9th, 10th, and 11th Doctor. And the new Doctor coming out was supposed to be the 12th Doctor. But now they're saying he's the 13th Doctor. And if you're a Who fan, you know that there's only so many reincarnations, and now this is going over the number. So, I don't know. I just can't get on board with it, because how do you have a series going on for 50 years and then just say, 50th anniversary, we're going to shake things up, and everything you knew before now isn't true. So now it's kind of like the Star Wars thing. When I'm talking about the first Star Wars movie, you're like, wait, the first one or episode 4? And so now it's going to be kind of like that with the Doctors. So as a Whovian fan, it's just kind of annoying that they're going to do something like that after 50 years. So,
Oh man.
Yeah. So who was the 13th Doctor? Was it the gentleman for the 50th show?
it was a Doctor from before. I'm not sure if it was between the 7th and 8th Doctor, but I'm pretty sure it was. And it was a Doctor that ended the war on time.
Okay.
So basically, it was a war that took place all through time. And yeah, just wrap your head around that. That's why Doctor Who is awesome.
I am losing my nerd cred. A little deeper and deeper into this conversation. I need to go some Doctor Who.
Well, my bad. As a comic reader and fan of comics, I've been a X-Men fan for many years. And I'm going to just say that right now, all the X-Men titles have been hurt by playing with the time stream. Like Theo mentioned with the upcoming movie Days of Future Past. Well, in the comic books, Days of Future Past is a significant event within the comic books. But since they've done that, they've played with the time stream so often that now, if you're reading anything like Children of the Atom, the one that just the run, there's like 4 Icemen. There's like Iceman from the past. There's current Iceman. There's
Battle of the Atom?
Battle of the Atom, yes. There's a Wizard Iceman. There's 2 Jean Greys. There's 4 Beasts. There's 2 Cyclops. I mean, that's just because they've been playing with the time string. And as a reader, I'm lost in time and can't figure out where they're going with this.
If you watch Doctor Who, you would understand.
Man, I think the doctor would have to do something to help me with this X-Men titles fiasco. There are some good ones. Uncanny is still the flagship. That's still a good read, and it focuses on Cyclops. Wolverine and the X-Men, it's okay, but it's not Uncanny. Uncanny is always going to be their staple, but them playing with the time stream has hurt the titles. They need to bring it back, make it an current villain and not somebody from the past.
Man, speaking of Wolverine, that actually goes to my bad. The Wolverine DVD release. I had some problems with Wolverine. My main thing was that it did a bait and switch for me. And if you have not seen Wolverine, you may want to just fast forward a little bit here. But if you have seen it, you may understand what I'm saying. My main problem with Wolverine is that I thought I was going to see Wolverine fight ninjas. Do you know what I didn't see in the Wolverine? Wolverine fighting ninjas. That's like 90% of the trailers and 0.07% of the actual movie. The really good thing about Wolverine that came out about it was the end credit scene, which will tie the Wolverine with Days of Future Past. But yeah, that movie was definitely my
I
bad.
feel like you're a little excited about Days of Future Past.
What gave it away? Days of Future Past.
Maybe that you're good and your bad had something to do with it this week.
So you're saying in the DVD there's going to be something that ties Wolverine with Days of Future Past?
No, it was just the end credit scene of the movie. I just really like X-Men here, guys. So I'm going to include Days of Future Past in all my good bads and uglies until the movie comes out.
Okay, all right.
Fair enough.
Just being honest.
There's bad things, and so there's ugly. And you know who's really ugly is Alan Moore. You know, Alan Moore, I've always had a problem with that, man. He just hates on the comic book industry so hard that, it's crazy because the comic book industry is what built him up in the first place. And I don't know how a man could actually be quoted in saying this, and this is a recent interview by Alan Moore. He said, quote, "I hate superheroes. I think they are an abomination." Alan Moore, you would not have a voice if it wasn't for superheroes in comics. You know, he goes into a lot of other things, and I just couldn't believe the stuff that was coming in his mouth. And I can't believe the fact that he can even hate on retailers, too, because he does all the time. He'll say that brick and mortar is dead, whatever. Alan Moore, without us, you still wouldn't be getting a check. Like, you get a check from Watchmen to this day. Let's not talk about what you don't like in the industry. And he was talking about the Avengers and how it's bad and blah, 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 blah. Hey, the Avengers are more than anything you've ever accomplished in your life.
Well, he's a wizard, so let's not take that away from him.
And I forgot, he's a wizard. And then that's not just a joke. He really believes that he's a wizard, and I can't believe it.
The only current thing was Killing Joke. I mean, Watchmen, even though it was very impactful, it really didn't translate in the superhero world. You know, aside from the movie by far is better than the comic book. If that's my hating on Alan Moore. But Killing Joke, as far as his literary work,
You don't like giant squids attacking the city?
no. It wasn't in the movie, and in the book, that chapter or whenever I got to it, I skipped over
The climax. He skipped over the climax of the book. He's like, this is stupid.
I don't know anything about that. The movie for me is the book. So I did not have an ugly this week. I had an epic. I know I'm cheating a little bit, but I kind of wanted to touch on Hunger Games Catching Fire. I saw that this weekend, and I have to say that they stepped their game up. Part of my apprehension about Hunger Games was I thought it was going to go the way of Twilight. And the Hunger Games, you know, the first entry in it kind of had a Twilight feel to it, but Catching Fire did not. They bumped up the tension in the despotic government ran by President Snow and the other districts where they have to give up tributes to go fight in the Hunger Games is real. Like, I really felt like he hated them.
Translated very well.
Like, it was very impactful. And the acting, it's a very ensemble cast, a very big one, and there was just solid acting in it. My only critique of it is, you know, when they're in the Hunger Games, there wasn't a lot of fighting like one-on-one, where you couldn't really see like District 12's warrior against District 4's warrior, because this one was focused more on the overall expansion of the story. And there was a lot of inner circle, like where the tributes who have won in the previous past have kind of integrated into the new despotic society that actually runs everything, and how they might influence how everything turns out. So if you saw it, you had to be just as amazed as me, and you have to feel that the game was stepped up by the director and the cast, because Twilight was horrible. Hunger Games is a epic.
Why are we
story.
comparing Twilight to Hunger
Because,
Games?
you know, Jennifer Lawrence, at that time when Hunger Games came out, she wasn't a big actress.
They're hitting the tweens.
Yeah, they were hitting the tweens, but
girls,
they're separating themselves. I've never read the books, but I'm glad I didn't, because I'm enjoying the movies that much.
Well, and let's be fair. We're comparing Jennifer Lawrence, Academy Award-winning actress, with Kristen Stewart, who's best known as a role of Plank on Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Well,
so that's
My favorite character.
Well, Jennifer Lawrence came through in that movie. Very good.
Yeah, I agree. It was I saw it last week as well. It was great. My ugly is going to piggyback on Ryan. We haven't had the same things this week, and that's Wizard Alan Moore's comments. Ryan's already touched on a lot of stuff that I was a bit upset about, but I just want to point this out. Alan Moore says comics should be for kids.
He doesn't write comics for kids.
Alan Moore says comics should be for kids. Alan Moore wrote The Killing Joke, which the Joker shoots Barbara Gordon, takes pictures of her naked body, and sends them to her father.
It was epic, by the way, though.
It was epic, but I don't exactly think that that's what I want my 9-year-old kid, hypothetical kid, reading. Or
Why not?
The Watchmen. Why not? Because I don't want them to end up like Alan Moore. He's a twisted
He
man.
knows magic.
but he does know magic. Where is the balance?
Google
So-
Alan Moore and take a picture and just look at his picture. You'll see why Ryan and Theo are hating on him so much.
Last week, hate is just
No,
truth. It's awareness.
What's
We're spreading
hating,
awareness.
what's hating is Alan Moore hating on the Avengers for success. We're just being honest. You wrote The Watchmen for 10-year-olds, Alan Moore? Is that what you're trying to tell us right now? Man, get out of here with all that. I'm not trying to hear that.
Yeah. Well, Watchmen very graphic, and Killing Joke was very graphic as far as a Batman story. So for him to say that, yeah,
It's for kids. He wrote that for your
super cool.
9-year-old daughter. That's who he did it for.
So something that you can get your 9-year-old daughter or son is the PlayStation 4.
That was
I
a
wanted
great
to talk about that a
segue.
little bit. You know, for me, PlayStation 4 is huge. I
Yeah.
grew up with it, you know, playing on the playground with my friends, and we're talking about, oh, PlayStation 1 now, PlayStation 2's coming out. One day, we'll get the PS4.
In the future!
Oh man,
And the future is here. I always
got
feel like
two of
Marty
them.
McFly when stuff like this happens.
and you got 2 of them. How do you do that?
I have 2 of them. You know, I actually sold one for an undisclosed price, but I feel bad because I made a hefty profit. But
And he got one of the defective ones.
I hope not. I definitely hope not. I did not test that before.
So
anyways,
again,
you know, people keep talking about problems they had with the PlayStation. I had a little downloading issues the first night. There was some network, but that was expected. You know, you're doing a huge release of a product that needs to share a network. I don't expect it to be good at all. I don't expect it to be up in the first night. So I was happy to, you know, see that going the next day. Actually, they had it all fixed up, and got to enjoy my online PSN network and everything. The cool thing that I do is I like the new free games that they have for the paying for the PlayStation Network now. That was something that I was kind of disappointed on, but you know, PlayStation gave me 8 to 10 years of free internet, so I think I can repay them back by paying $60 a month or whatever, or a year I should say. So you know, the free games definitely make it worth it for me. I had PlayStation Plus before, and had some really good games for it, but they've definitely stepped up the games for this one because the games are made for this gen, and you don't feel like you're just playing little
Ports.
kid games or whatever. Yeah, exactly. My favorite game right now is Assassin's Creed, purely based on the fact that you get to be a pirate, sail a boat, rob people,
I'm on a boat.
assassinate people. I was like, wait, you can assassinate people, sail a boat, steal money, and go hunting for sharks? You can go fishing for sharks. I caught a hammerhead last night. I was so excited. Yeah, I don't know. And the cool thing is too, when you're hunting down these pirate ships and stuff, and these ships of the British government or whatever, you can actually use your scope, and you can look at the scope and see the boats and understand what kind of supplies they have and what kind of supplies you're going to steal from them. So there's a lot of strategy, and you get to build your own boat up and customize it.
Graphically,
and make it more
is it good? Graphically,
Oh, it's flawless.
I mean-
PlayStation has, their frame rate with the TV that I have is amazing. Like, the games the games aren't ready for the system yet. So
Okay.
the games that you're getting now,
that's a great problem to have.
yeah, it's a great problem to have. They have the PlayStation has a 4K capability for the new TVs that are coming out. That pretty much the highest tech you can get for your television, and PlayStation supports that, just like they did with the Blu-ray. They're revolutionary in that aspect. I don't believe the Xbox One supports 4K, which is unfortunate for being $100 more, which is crazy. So be able to invest in the system early, invest in the TV, and the whole experience is really good. And I think PlayStation 4 is going to be better based on those things. And Xbox has never really been that good with exclusive content and stuff. Anything they've done has just been like Gears of War or Halo heavy. I haven't really heard about any small independent titles that they come up with that really make a burst in the scene like PlayStation does. So pretty excited. I was saying before that PlayStation has a different effect on everybody. Is there something in your past that maybe a good PlayStation moment you've had before, Theo?
I remember getting the PlayStation 2.
You still have it.
I do still have it.
You still need me. Let me play Kingdom Hearts.
I am failing you as a friend because
be
I
ongoing.
don't want to share it with you. I just don't. I just don't. I remember getting Dragon Ball Z Budokai, and I went ham on that game. I know I've had all-nighters in the past, but that's the first game I vividly remember Second game, sorry. First game was Pokemon Blue. The second, I really remember playing so hard that I looked up and I see just the sun is up. So that is my first big PlayStation moment.
Mine was PlayStation 2 Metal Gear Solid. Was it Sons of Liberty?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sons of Liberty, man. I put in hours on that one because it had the little. I mean, you didn't really need the strategy guide to really find the clues on that one because it was so
Self-contained.
that you could find all the clues and not have to go into an expanded story. But Sons of Liberty, I think the only problem that I had with it was you weren't really Snake very much. You were more Raiden in that one, but.
Snake being the main character.
Snake is the main character, but in Sons of Liberty, Raiden was the more focal point and took up more of the game.
You got a sword though.
But yeah, it was still awesome for me.
Can I say something about PlayStation really quick? Because I know we're all PlayStation fans. Remember the PlayStation 1 came out?
Oh yeah.
And we were like, yo, graphics can never get any better than
This
this.
is the best graphics ever.
And then I saw Madden for PlayStation 2, and I was like, no, it can never get any better.
And it just gets
And then the
better.
PlayStation 3, man, by the time PlayStation 7 comes out, those retina implants right into the cerebral cortex of your mind?
Yeah, whatever you can conceive of, they're gonna do it. If we're gonna give our bodies to that technology.
Yeah, I didn't know if
do
you
it.
guys know, but I'm a huge Metal Gear fan. Like borderline
I did
obsessed.
not.
Yeah.
What's the new one they got coming?
I'm not sure on the new name. That's kind of that's bad on my part, but
all
I did play the new one, beat the new one on the hardest level.
But it's coming out for the 4. It's coming
yes,
out exclusively
yes.
for the
Oh,
4.
yes.
And it's within the year. I'm thinking, so I know I have to get the 4.
I'm taking a small vacation for that one.
Yeah.
That's going to be Ryan's good in about 6 months then right there.
The cool thing about that game is there's different ways you can beat it, and there's easy, medium, and hard. And after you beat it on hard, you unlock the difficulty level extreme. And I'm proud to say that I beat each and every one on an extreme. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but
You get a golf clap for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I can only do it on normal. I can't ever go extreme.
Actually, I beat the last one extreme without being seen and no kills.
Sometimes I can never complete it on normal, so I'm like, dude, I gotta complete it. I'm gonna go easy. I can't do it. I don't have enough time.
Well, my review is going to switch up from the PlayStation 4. I'm going to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the show that's on Cartoon Network. And I shall say I have an old classmate of mine, Chris, who works on the show, which makes him like one of the coolest guys I know because of
What's
that.
his last name?
Chris Wombold.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, he's
gonna like you.
legit.
I own a comic book store though.
Ninja Turtles.
So I'm the third coolest, maybe.
It's best not just don't think of a ranking system like that.
Oh, you hurt his feelings.
Ryan's leaving the podcast right now. Come back, Ryan.
Well, I did get voted number 1 in the Inland Empire. There
you go.
So whatever that means.
I'm just gonna say this: if you're a TMNT fan and you are not watching this show, you need to keep listening to this podcast. So right after that, go to the store, pick up season 1 on DVD, and watch it. This show, it's fantastic. It's so great. The characters are all fleshed out. Their motivations make sense. I'm talking about the Turtles, Master Splinter, Shredder, April, the Krang, everybody. They're switching it up a little bit if you're a fan of the 80s and 90s cartoon, like I am, like most of us, I imagine, are.
I am.
Or the live-action TV show. Oh gosh, I mean the live-action movie. We don't mention the
Vanilla
TV show.
Ice.
I'm sorry.
Talk about the
Vanilla Ice in the movie, yeah. Where April was an adult. In this cartoon, she's actually in high school. So she's about the same age as the Turtles. So that's a great dynamic that you have there.
That was something always weird for me. April hanging out with a bunch of teenagers. She's a grown woman with a job. And
But they're not just teenagers; they're turtles too. So
She was
what
inviting
is
them over to the
April
house.
into?
She's got a 401k and taking out with a big rat.
April's very liberal with her men's.
Hey,
selection.
Raphael, come on over. Eat a pizza with me.
Oh yeah, and she eats pizza with turtles too.
Well, hey.
They're not just teenagers; they're
No big deal.
turtles.
And, there's some old villains on the show, as I mentioned, but there are some new ones which are really cool. And the great thing about this show is that even with this season, they're adding Casey Jones, which I hear that Ryan's a big fan of.
Favorite character on the show. No big deal.
No big deal at all, right? So, like, I'm hoping that later on they may even bring back in Bebop and Rocksteady. Those guys are always great to have
Side
around.
note, Kevin Eastman's ex-wife, Julie Strain, the B-movie queen, was actually at my shop and did a signing, and she's the homie. She comes by every once in a while. She comes to chat it up. She's really cool. See her at the gym and stuff. But if you're I know you're a TMT fan, and she was married to him when he, created the greatness.
She
So.
took all his money.
2 degrees away from him. You hear that, guys? As of right now, I'm closer to my plan. But yeah, no, it's a great show. Who's the guy's favorite turtles? I'm just curious.
Well, listen, I'm going to show my age. I was not as into it. I'm a little bit older than you, but what I love about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the fact that if you ever see Theo, he always has some type of turtle emblem or paraphernalia on his body. So
My favorite's the bow tie.
He has a bow tie. He has a jacket. It's a bright yellow jacket with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle logo, right?
And it has Cowabunga on the hood.
Oh,
actually,
yeah. And actually, right now, he's not dressed as a turtle, but he has on this kind of greenish hue shirt that I know is a turtle representation. So that's what I know about Teenage Mutant, because I'm old.
Man, I love being a turtle.
All right.
I would say mine's Donatello.
Ooh.
He was always the underrated one, but always came through for the team when they really needed him. He was the brains. I felt like Donatello's the brains, right?
He does machines.
He does machines. That's what he does. So he's always fixing up the truck. Always doing something behind the scenes to make the team better. And I just felt like he's always underappreciated. I always felt like he was like that key role player.
Yeah.
And I always felt like that growing up. I was, on the basketball team or whatever. I was like, I don't want to be the star. I want to be the key role player. Like, we need Ryan to win the game. He ain't gonna hit the game-winning shot, but
he'll
could.
pass the ball to the guy.
He won't turn it over though.
He won't turn it over.
So he's reliable, and that's why I felt like Donatello.
I will say that brings a good point. Like about the show, they've had a lot of character specific episodes. And one of the episodes about Donatello was one of my favorites because for a guy who does machines, you would think that his weapon would be something that at least has something to do with metal, like all his brothers do. But they kind of talk about like how even though he has the biggest brain of all of them, why his weapon is simply it's like the simplest, it's just a bow staff because it's almost like the simplest machine you can get out there. It was a really, really great episode.
I like the way Shredder looks. I don't know anything about the characters, but Shredder always kind of stood out as like
Shredder's a crybaby.
Well, I don't know anything about the
80s
characters.
the 80s and 90s.
His outfit was pretty dangerous looking. Like I'd be like, if I saw him, I was like, I don't want to sit next to that guy right there.
No, you don't want to sit next to a guy.
You might cut yourself.
Yeah, he might
'cause
cut me.
Has blades on his arm.
He has blades everywhere.
Always felt like he's a knockoff Darth Vader.
Well, now that I think about it, he kind of looks similar, except he's silver. With the
Instead of the stormtroopers, they had the Foot Clan.
Yeah.
I think they did that with Marvel too, like with the hand.
Uh-huh.
Like who ripped off who?
No, Ninja Turtles blatantly ripped off Daredevil.
Oh, did they?
Oh yeah, no, he's come out and said it, which I think is even more awesome.
Because the hand and the foot.
If you guys
really?
if you
Yeah,
take a
I
look
didn't
at
know
like
this.
YouTube interviews with him, like even the whole story of how Ninja Turtles started was just like, hey, what if these guys are turtles, and like what if they're brothers, and what if the bad guy's name is Shredder? Like it literally started from a ludicrous idea, but blossomed into something that obviously, that we're still talking about it over 25 years later.
Yeah.
So
He still writes the new ones coming out.
they
too.
look great.
Yeah.
I saw a Bebop and Rocksteady one. It looks
haven't jumped on it yet?
fantastic. Look, man, I'm scared because once I'm in that black hole, I don't know if you'll be able to pull me out.
Your friend sitting right across from you owns a comic store.
Who
I'm
won't-
assuming that
you're gonna
get
hook me up if I just get up right now and
Tell him to give you all the
No
back
discount. I'll hook you. I'll go get
Tell
them
him
for
to give you all
you.
the back hitches for free.
I'll bag and board them for you. Free bags and boards.
he's too kind.
Yeah.
No receipt though. I don't want to waste trees.
Yeah. No problem. Thank you for that.
Well, my review was more of a nerdiac like issue for me. If you guys have saw Thor 2,
Which you should have.
you should have by now. It's been out over a month. You guys should have noticed that Marvel Studios came out with a new logo and theme music sound.
Should we play it for him before we
Yes,
start
if you
talking?
haven't
about it?
heard it, listen to it right now. Okay, that right there is killer. That right there sets Marvel apart with just the intro that you know just by hearing that something is about to go down.
I didn't know you could get goosebumps on my feet.
Man, that's. I mean, if you're a fan of science fiction movies and nerdiac movies and nerdiac culture, you know that there are some theme songs that ring in your mind. You know, you got the Star Wars, you have the Superman one. Well, this one, even though it's not a theme song for a particular character, if Marvel is coming out with that introduction for whatever their movies are,
Phase 2.
that lets you know that Marvel on Phase 2 is coming hard. So what I have to anticipate is that if you listen to the past ones, it just had the sound of pages going by. Even DC kind of mirrored the same thing when they introduced their movies. It was just basically pages flipping by. But with Marvel coming out with that opening gun that says, DC, step your game up now.
I feel like Joss Whedon is just sitting back and just being like, whoa, the evil laugh, because he knows everything right now. He knows everything for the next 10 years.
Well, because
They're probably coming up with something just laughing.
he's the main guy. I mean, Kevin Feige is the overall business guy, but he has trusted Josh Whedon to really kind of be the godfather of the overall universe for the movie branch. And it's cool for me.
I'm just going to interject real quick here. On a side note, I follow Mark Ruffalo on Twitter, and he tweeted earlier this week that he just got the Avengers 2 script. So pretty excited about that.
Oh, wow.
So
Any spoilers?
no, he didn't tweet that part yet. So
I want spoilers.
I'll tweet him and see what he says.
Age of Ultron, I mean, that's
You,
it's
Mark,
pretty
was back,
ambitious.
right?
Yeah. No, we
You did a
way
PA on, I
It was
think
like
they
a
did one
Brothers
time.
Bloom.
It was like a
Yeah.
Brokeback Mountain type role.
No,
Hope
no,
not.
it was not.
Mark is Ruffalo.
No, we love you, Mark. We love you.
We really do.
We really do.
You know, sometimes in the industry, for me, you know, there's things that bother me, and one of the big things that bother me is the books that get on bestseller lists that shouldn't be. You know, people kind of go through it with, you know, with the common media and say, "Hey, you like this? So do I," but you really don't. And sometimes people will say, "I really like that," and I will tell them, "You don't like that. You should read this." And I'm not saying you're gonna like this more than like this, but that's just bad. Here's a little something to kind of open your mind to some really good comic book storytelling, and more often than not, it helps. And the big thing for me right now that's pissing me off is The Walking Dead. Walking Dead has gone so far from what I thought made it good originally, and one of the big things that made it good for me originally was the fact that the story would move along pretty good, and right now it's just so slow. You know, at this pace that they're going right now, they can go to issue 2000 and still be hanging out with Negan. And Negan being, you know, one of the newer bad guys.
Okay.
And for me, I feel like he's a repeat character of the Governor, but not being as strong of a bad guy. I feel like Negan's kind of more of a powder puff version of him.
Really?
You know, the Governor did some very nasty, sadistic things on a regular basis, and never saw that he was a bad guy. And I've seen Negan deal with his inner demons a little bit. You know, I've seen him have a little bit of regret. I've seen him show remorse. The Governor didn't do that at all. And that's what, for me, made it a truly terrifying character. When they showed his face on pages, I was just like, oh, here's the Governor. You know, when Negan shows up, I'm like, Rick will take care of him eventually. You know, and you know, Carl lost his eye. Glenn got murked off.
By
And-
Negan, though. I mean, I
By
don't have
Negan,
to.
yes.
Negan is a pretty powerful character. I have to disagree with you. I really do think that the book is just as powerful as it has been. I mean, you can only do one governor, and for me, Negan is very good for right now and the expansion of the story. It is not just about zombies now, and it's not just about being in a prison. It's about how they're reaching out to other survivors, other Ricks have you. Because there's a character now in the comic book named Jesus.
Yeah.
So if you're reading the comic book and you read about Jesus in the comic book, not Jesus Christ, but Jesus in The Walking Dead, Jesus is a bad mofo.
Well, the thing for me with Walking Dead was that when, in the beginning, it was all about people meeting people helping each other. They kept building. It was more about the underlying thing that was happening, that everybody is zombies, and we need to find out why. Where's everybody else? That was driving me in the beginning. Like, where's everybody else? What else is going on in the world? And they haven't even touched on that at all. And we're at issue 117, and we haven't even talked about Japan or China or Russia.
So you want to branch out?
Other than
I
the
want
fact
to
that
branch out.
everybody's infected, there is no real clue of where the virus came from. And that's even in the comic books.
If they
to this
drop
day.
hints for us a little bit, it would be like drive me along. Like Smallville, for example. When I used to watch Smallville, from season 1, I always thought he was going to put on the suit. I always thought the next episode he's going to fly. The next episode he's going to fly.
They got us.
They got us. 10
For
years.
10 seasons.
10 seasons.
I was there.
We-
Did he
every-
fly on the final one? I can't remember.
Yeah, he finally did.
Okay.
You know, so for me, I felt like there's nothing like that right now, you know, and I got through to maybe about issue 80, 85, around there, and that's when they started losing me with all this nonsense they're doing with Negan now, because I don't care about Negan. What's going on in this Walking Dead universe, you know?
Well, let me ask you guys a question, because as you guys know, like I love the Walking Dead show, but do not read the comics. And I know there's obviously differences between them, but in the comics, and the show will obviously eventually have to tackle this as well. But could the interesting thing about the Walking Dead be that while, like what Ryan's saying is that we're looking for this payoff of this story, what if there just is none? I mean, what if that's the whole point of the Walking Dead?
And he's just trolling all of us.
Yeah. Like, would that be an acceptable thing? I mean, or like, how would you guys feel reading it? You know,
Like
it's
if
just
Rick just woke up from a coma and was like,
well, I would
why
say
is
like
crazy
everybody
dreaming about
dies.
zombies?
Well, everybody dies, and that's it. Like,
I had
that's
this.
it.
I had this debate about The Walking Dead, the comic book series, and where it is right now compared to where the television show is, where you are. And right now, in the television show, they're in the prison. In the comic books, that's around between issue 35 and 40.
Somewhere around there.
But right now, they just came out with issue 117. So they are way past the governor in the prison in the comic books. And what I think of what's going on sometimes with in Kirkman's minds, he has a lot of like I said, there's a Jesus, there's an Ezekiel, there's a lot of like
biblical stuff.
There's a lot of biblical stuff not in the main story, but in his selective writing, you kind of see it in the
It
background.
makes sense
a little bit.
though. You know, you have that many survivors, which is not a lot, and you have a lot of people grasping onto hope. You know, you're gonna have a lot of people making those references more. I think even in real society, you know, you're gonna have people saying, "Oh, he's our savior." Da 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 da. They're gonna be looking for those little strands of hope and say, "This is our guy who's gonna save us." Just like that's why people hang on to Rick so much, is because he is that. You know, to them, he is that
savior
savior
figure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know, right now it's all Rick, so you probably have to go along with Rick through the series because Rick isn't going to be like, I wonder what happened to the president. I'm just going to go get access to the Pentagon because they've already passed in the comic books. They've already been to DC and it was destroyed.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
So DC was destroyed. There was no form of government, and that's how he ended up where he is right now.
But it just
So-
the show and the book make it seem like there's like 100 survivors in the whole world, you know, and there is more, and there is still ways to communicate with radio, and you know, this is 2013. We can't figure out how to talk to people. We can't figure out something. We can't rebuild machines. We can't
I don't want it-
reestablish ourselves.
I don't want it to be a good ending.
You
for
just
The
want to be
Walking Dead.
satisfying.
I want it to be satisfying.
I want Rick
I
to
don't
wake
want
up
them
from a
to
coma.
I don't want them to find a cure. I want it to be, this is what's it, and because I think if the show goes on, the comic and the television show, it's eventually Carl is the evolution of the whole thing.
I want Rick to wake from a coma, and I want the doctor to look at him after Rick told him about his dream and be like, look down him over his glasses and say, zombies can never be real. And then that's the last page.
And that doctor is Dr. House.
Dr. House. If they drew him like that, that'd be
are
great.
an idiot.
Zombies can be real.
You know, another bestseller for me that's I think is really good is the Death of the Family, the Return of the Joker in the New 52. In the first issue of Detective Comics, the Dollmaker cut off the Joker's face per his request. The Gotham PD found his face, kept it at the police station. Joker disappeared for a year. Joker shows up back after a year and steals his face back and kills everyone in the police station. And that's how the story starts. And after he steals his face back, by the way, he strapped his face with leather straps to his head. So you can imagine how psychotic Joker is in this story. They definitely took him to a level that they haven't seen before. And people, like the Heath Ledger Joker a lot and how sadistic and crazy it was. This Joker makes that Joker look like a Powder Puff Girl. Like, he could be on the show and be, the nice part of the sugar and spice and everything nice,
And to compound on the Death in the Family, that is a very good graphic novel. But what they're doing now with Year Zero, how they kind of expanded on how the Red Hood, the original Red Hood leader.
I like it because it took place 1 week or 2 weeks after he gets back from his ninja training.
Yeah,
that we're all familiar with.
When Bruce Wayne resurfaces, Year Zero, that's what's going on right now. They're trying to implicate that the original Red Hood leader was the Joker, and they actually, if you're reading it, they actually show where he falls into the vat at Ace Chemicals. And if you just picked up the latest issue, I think of it, if it's Red Hood and what is it?
Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Red Hood and the Outlaws. They kind of, that's a Year Zero tie-in. It kind of shows how Jason Todd first met the now current Joker after he came out of the vat, because they show his face all bandaged up, and it's the Joker, or at least that's how they're implying it. And it's a pretty good, reinvention of a modern day bad guy. I'm not a big fan of the Leatherface Joker, but I'm interested to see how Joker plays out in
I like how they
Forever
went
Evil.
with the Bat of Acid origin in the New 52. I think mostly because people are more familiar with it. But even in the Nolan series, that wasn't the case. It was, him being abused as a kid, and that's also been an origin of his. Is that him being abused and he just turned out crazy.
I just didn't like the
face.
facial disfigurement at all.
Yeah, it didn't really fit into what we've known as the Joker. The Joker's always been, he smiles a lot, he's laughing all the time, and even that more plastic surgery look that Jack had. But the scars thing wasn't really appealing because it didn't really tie in with the character at all. And so them bringing in the vat and all that stuff, I thought that was good. So.
I'm always a fan of the pure white skin mutated Joker rather than the cut.
I'm just a fan of Jack Nicholson. So
Right now, I'm going to get into something that was just announced over the internet and on the Comic-Con website. If you are a nerdiac, the thing that you really want to go to is San Diego International Comic-Con, which is going to be this July coming. Well, this July 2014. Well, the Comic-Con website had announced that they were going to do the pre-ticket sales by the end of November. Well, they just sent out an email recently saying that they are no longer going to do it in November because they were trying to do upgrades to the website to make it more user-friendly. Now, if you're a Comic-Con goer, you know that the website is never user-friendly.
Never.
And it's always a
Terrible.
controversial issue. Now, you have to be diligent if you're going to go to Comic-Con and you want to buy Comic-Con tickets through the normal ways.
2 things on that. One, last year, we had 3 different households. My shop, my apartment, my dad's house. 2 computers there, 3 computers in my shop, an iPad, and a computer in my house. 0 entries into it. Crazy. Now, I heard a funny story from a customer today, actually. He came in and told me about how he got into Comic-Con. It was pretty funny. He actually just sent screenshots of him not being able to log in. Sent an email to Comic-Con, and they actually gave him a 4-day pass for however many people were in his party because he complained. So, Comic-Con fans, you should start sending complaint letters, and hopefully you'll get free passes.
Now, I'm going to say that I know a lot of ways to get into Comic-Con as a nerdiac and as a person who's been to Comic-Con over the last 10 years. But for the pre-ticket sales, if you were an attendee at the 2013, you had to have retained your badge, because when Comic-Con said that they weren't going to release them for November, they did say that when they get the bug fixed, that they were going to give you a 48-hour window. So when that 48-hour window hits and you get that email, you better make sure that you're at home. What I did was I actually boosted up my internet provider to the highest bits that I could get, because I know that I heard that story before of somebody who was able to get tickets right away as they boosted up their internet signal. So as soon as they pressed it, they were right there.
Boosted up their ignorance?
Not ignorance, internet.
Well, that's not fair, because I had 150 down, and guess who did not get tickets to Comic-Con? This guy.
It is a mess, but you have to be diligent. Like I said, if you were a 2013 attendee, there's a little code on the back of your badge that you need to have to buy pre-sale tickets. Now, the pre-sale offer only for previous attendees. Normal sales will probably go in probably around March or April. But if you're a pre-sale, you have an advantage. You just have to take advantage of your advantage and be diligent. Get online, be diligent. If you have to refresh, I heard refreshing works, even though the website says it doesn't. Refresh, get your tickets. And if you don't get tickets, meet me in San Diego, and I can make you still have a Comic-Con experience.
We're gonna have a conversation after this podcast. That's what it sounds like we're gonna have.
I have ways.
So, this is the holiday season, and obviously, during the holiday season, we like to give thanks. And since we're nerdiacs, let's give thanks for some of the nerdy stuff that's happened this year. Mine, ironically enough, is My Little Pony. I've been following the My Little...
You admitted that?
You can't just say My Little Pony and not expect us.
What?
My Little Pony?
Okay, guys, I'm just lying with you. Mine is Superior Spider-Man.
You had me.
These guys
heart.
killed
You went
me.
from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to My Little Pony. All right, go ahead.
Mine is it's Superior Spider-Man. Now, if you're like me, you actually hate what's been going on with Superior Spider-Man. Adrian's rolling his eyes at me, but I've been hating it. I've been hating what they've been doing to my man Peter Parker. Well, he's dead now, so there's that. But the reason I want to give thanks for it is because it's got me interested back in the series. Some people say that in order for a group of people to band together, you need to give them a villain that everyone hates enough for them all to come together through stuff. And that's Superior Spider-Man. I hate Doc Ock as Spider-Man. I hate Sam and Peter Parker's skin. And that's enough for me to buy it, every other week, actively hoping that Doc Ock dies and Peter Parker comes back.
Prophet Alpha,
Yes.
I need your prophet skills right now.
Okay.
I see, possibly, and I have called the last two major story arcs, no big deal. I called Ultron, followed up by Thanos, but we won't get into that. I believe that Doc Ock will be the next big villain for the Avengers. I think after this, Doc Ock will do something in this storyline to mess it up and implant and take some type of advantage over everybody, because I feel like there's going to be an opportunity to take over the world.
In Parker's skin?
Yes, yes. And I think Doc Ock in Parker's skin will be the next great villain and try to take over everything. And Doctor Strange will be the one to figure out how to get Peter Parker's consciousness back in his body.
Ooh.
First, I want to thank you for calling me Prophet Alpha.
I'm only going to refer to you as Prophet Alpha when I know that I'm right.
And second, I think that they have been grooming it up to where it's going to take because Doc Ock has a whole. I mean, Doc Ock Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man, has a whole island to himself, Spider Island, and he has a lot of power within New York City, and it's going to take the might of the Avengers to.
And they've clashed once already.
Oh, yeah.
They've clashed once.
He's
in the comic
infiltrated the
already.
whole city.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
has spiders
and
everywhere.
he's infiltrated the Avengers. He's, but I don't think he's going to be a villain. I actually think that this is a redemption story for Otto Octavius. I think he has a love interest that is going to win, and I don't think that this is a story about Dr. Otto Octavius becoming a bigger villain. I think it's more of a story to where it's a because he was dead. I mean, like literally, his body was deteriorated, and his only option, really, as a villain who hates Peter Parker, Spider-Man, I'm gonna just steal your body.
You know, I started reading comics, reading Amazing Spider-Man. I read maybe about 350 issues. My dad got me these cool little DVDs that you could, watch and read or whatever. It was really good, but I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. If anyone knows me, they know I'm a Spidey fan. I have a Spidey original art by,
Do you like the Green
Spidey
Goblin?
artist. What's up?
Do you like the Green Goblin?
I love the Green Goblin.
Do you like Norman Osborn?
I see where you're going with this. I am not Norman Osborn. I'm a Peter Parker type, not Theo Brown.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So as far as Spider-Man goes, when they came out with this new series, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand the fact that I'm reading about a character who is no longer that character. They did a Freaky Friday switch. I feel like that's lazy writing. Oh, we have a bad idea. Let's do a mind swap. No.
You don't
Bad.
like Dan Slott either.
I don't like Dan Slott. He's a mean old man who just hates on everything and everybody.
Alan
and he's
Moore
that,
and
he's
Dan
that guy who's
Slaughter.
like, well, at least I have a job. I'm getting paid to do it. It's the worst attitude to have in life. Like, if everyone hates you and you're happy about it,
Something's wrong.
don't say haters gonna hate. No, dude, you're just not a good person. Like, you need to reevaluate how you're coming at people, because if you didn't have this job, you're a bad person. You write Spider-Man. What did Alan Moore say? This is for the kids. For the kids.
I think Superior Spider-Man is a superior title, and I challenge Theo on his hating of Superior Spider-Man when he just said, every 2 weeks I'm in here buying Superior Spider-Man because I hate it so
loves to
much.
hate it.
He loves to hate it.
No.
Because it is a different story. It is a different take.
That's not why. That's not why. Sorry to cut you off like that, but like Ryan, Spider-Man was the very first. That's the very first thing when I knew what a comic was. That's the first thing that I had in my hands. I've grown up loving Spidey so much. I remember
But Ryan's Peter Parker.
I remember reading when the first issue of Superior Spider-Man came out. Sorry, the second issue of Superior Spider-Man came out. I was reading like the questions in the back, and this is when people are just like, "Hey, bring back Parker. Like, what are you doing?" and stuff like that. And Dan wrote back to this one guy, and I remember seeing this letter they wrote back, and he's like, "Well, we're selling issues, so that's probably not going to happen."
You rebooted Spider-Man. Of course you're selling
That-
this shit. You put Spider-Man #1 on the shelf. It's gonna sell. Are you serious?
That upset me a lot because like Ryan said, I mean, like, we've invested so much, in this
I love
character
it. I love everything
of
about
Peter
it.
Parker and Spider-Man. So all of a sudden this guy's coming, and to me, he's spitting in our face and stuff like that.
I think
but
you're both wrong.
I feel like now that I want to be there when Peter Parker does come back. I'm hoping and praying that he does come back.
I don't like Peter Parker.
So you're just a mean
I like
man.
Otto Octavius Superior
You're a
Spider-Man.
terrible human being if you're saying
See,
that.
they're both trying to fight to be Peter Parker, and I'm
not fighting
I'm
to
over here
anybody.
sitting over here as Mr. Sinister. I'll claim Mr. Sinister.
The cool thing is Spider-Man always wins. Mr. Sinister always loses. So I'll be a winner.
Always.
I'll go
Mr.
ahead and
Sinister
win.
doesn't really.
I stopped
always
reading
lose.
Superior issue 9 when they finally said no more Peter Parker. So I'm a little bit behind. I'm happy I'm behind, actually. There was that Black Cat cover, though, that made me almost go back to my roots.
You'll have some good reading later on. It's decent.
And then
It's
there's
really
the
decent.
new issue, has a Venom-esque cover, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Spider-Man for the Future came in. That was really cool. That was a cool little thing.
$20.99.
It's like a whole Spider Army going on right now. There's a lot of Spider-Man in the Marvel comic universe.
It's some cool stuff. It's just like, it just hurts me every time, like when Parker's just alone and he's not Parker. That's
And there's a new Spider-Man coming. What are your, predictions, Prophet Alpha, of Miles Morales and his impact on the 616?
Well, I'll tell you, it all kind of started in 2000 when Ryan Michael Bendis wrote the Ultimate Spider-Man.
2001.
No, 2001. right? 2001. Okay, I have that issue. It's 998 CG. But let's say that Brian Michael Bendis kind of made more of a current Peter Parker. Well, in that Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker is dead, and there is now a African American / Spanish Miles Morales Peter Parker. I love that Peter Parker, but his comic, the Ultimate Spider-Man comic, is the only one that sells in this Ultimate Universe. And right now, they are about to do away with the Ultimate Universe because they brought in the 616 Marvel Universe's Galactus in there. Now, I predicted that, because if you've been on the internet blogs, Miles Morales is supposed to enter the 616 universe. But I don't think we're going to see the Miles Morales Spider-Man that we see in the Ultimate, because Galactus always chooses one person from every planet that he consumes as a herald. And so that's the only way that I can see Miles Morales crossing over into the Marvel 616 universe with a valid reason and say, okay, I can believe that. He took on Miles Morales as a herald. I mean, Miles Morales in the Ultimate Universe has a dad, and he has a family, and he has friends. I don't know how that's going to play in it, but, you know, I predict that it'll be as a herald of Galactus, and he'll be some type of arachnid type.
Arachnid Herald. That's interesting.
Yeah, I just think that that's
you can play around with that.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I come up with good things like that.
What do you think about the time stream being broken from Age of Ultron and everything going back and forth?
Man, I really kind of liked AVX, and I didn't really think that Age of Ultron ended very well. I don't like playing with the time strings. Like, if you heard in my bad, it kind of ruined the X-Men for me as a longtime reader, and I think it confuses people. I'm more of a let's deal with current issues right now, and especially in Marvel, which Marvel is more reality based. Let's deal with current issues and not play with time so much, because it's kind of hard because I want kids to collect comic books, and I want them to be able to pick up a comic book and say, I kind of know what's going on right now. And if you're starting to read a comic book where they're bouncing around from 2099 to 2013, and then they're back in the past, it's kind of hard for a child to get a base of that character.
Theo, you're more of I want to say new to the comic world as far as getting books on a weekly basis and staying current.
Sure.
As a quote unquote new reader, what when you see something like that and you see these big events crossing over and stuff, and you go to the shelf, is that something that appeals to you, or is that something that makes you say, hey, I don't really want to read this because it's so complicated?
I feel that, like, in my opinion, a couple years ago, probably about 2 years ago, I was following AVX. Or maybe it was just last year. I was following AVX for a bit, and then I ended up moving across the country, so I stopped. And I didn't really pick up anything again until it just so happened that Spider-Man was ending and Superior was starting. So I was like, okay, well, this is number one. I can start right here. Now I look at that compared to, you look at 1,400 X-Men titles over there and stuff like that.
1,402.
Excuse me, 1,402 X-Men titles, and they're all at various issues. Like, this will be issue 5, this one will be issue 17, issue 32. I don't even know which one to begin, even if I do know the characters, because I still don't know what storyline they're in, how they're interacting with these other storylines, stuff like that. I feel like X-Men suffers extremely for that because there's so many X-Men teams.
Well, there's a lot of Avengers teams now, too. I mean, so you are really kind of dealing with this whole, like, maybe there's too much abundance of, maybe you should just go back to one Avengers team, one X-Men team, and then they're just kind of like dealing with how things are now. And I just think that for me, comics, I think in order to flip comics on its head, you should switch things up. Have a good guy become a bad guy. Like a good guy, like a real good guy, become a real bad guy.
And that be the main story?
And that be the main story. Somebody that you weren't expecting, somebody smart. I mean, they flip on you. They kind of did it a couple of years back with Wolverine, Enemy of State, where they really focused on Wolverine being brainwashed by the Hand. I know we were talking about the Hand and how the Hand kind of figured in. Well, the Hand did a number on Wolverine, and Wolverine was really evil, and they had to bring out all stops. It's a very
Doing
good.
what he
If you're a
does best.
collector, it's a good thing to kind of go back and look at some of those histories. But if you're messing with the time stream and you got, like you said, 1,402 X titles, which one do you pick up? I would say Uncanny. You can't go wrong with Uncanny. They have the biggest.
I like Uncanny, and I like Uncanny X-Men and Uncanny Avengers.
I like Uncanny Avengers really a lot too. I love that one. That's one of my better titles.
We definitely geeked out again.
Yeah.
It's about that time once more. Thank you for tuning in to the Nerdy X podcast. And we'll see you next time.
Later, guys. Stay safe.
Alpha out.